person most affected by those two circumstances, student loan debt from colleges and healthcare discrimination, is the Black woman in America. And the person that is the most targeted right now, the most forgotten, the most undervalued. You know, I think for a lot of Black women in America, and I can only speak adjacently, you know, there is a fear that they are going to be left behind. What can we do to talk to the people in our lives? And this may be a reductive question, but I just want to know the answer. Is what can we do to talk to the people in our lives who maybe don't realize that they could be the most affected by a second term of Donald Trump?
Well, I think in terms of Black women or African Americans in general, or the Latino community, or people who, you know, are minority religion, understand, and I say this with no joy in my heart, that you have a president who is an overt racist. End of discussion.
Yes.
That's who he is.
Yeah.
And he is a xenophobe. And he will say and do anything in terms of dividing us up if it benefits him politically. You talk about Black women. If you are a Black woman today giving birth to a baby, you are 3 times more likely to die giving birth than a white woman.
Yes.
And white women, by the way, don't do terribly well compared to other countries. All right.
Yeah.
So if you are a Black family, your wealth is perhaps 1/10 of what a white family is, and you have been hit devastatingly hard by the pandemic. Much more so if you're a Black worker, you're more likely to be a critical worker going out, you know, whether you're working in a grocery store or driving a bus or working in the postal service, than white workers. You're not staying home, social distancing yourself. You have to go out and earn a living, and therefore you're coming down in disproportionate numbers with the virus. So you're quite right. Another term for Trump would make a terrible situation much, much worse.
And one of the things that really gets me the most in terms of taking steps backwards is the issue of reproductive health. I have endometriosis. I've had it for my entire life. And for those who aren't familiar, it's a reproductive illness that basically causes cells to burrow in parts of my other organs and create a thick scar tissue that causes me chronic pain. I've had multiple surgeries for it, and I've been very open in the press about how it caused me a miscarriage when I was 20 years old. When I had that miscarriage, the first place that I went was Planned Parenthood. That was the place that took care of me. They saved my life, they saved my happiness, and they put me on a track where I could rebuild that reproductive health and be in a functioning place as an adult. Now, with the appointment of Amy Coney Barrett, I am fearful. I am truly fearful for people who menstruate, people who have reproductive health issues, people who want to get pregnant, people who are pregnant and don't want to be pregnant, people who it could cause a life-threatening scenario for them to be pregnant. I worry about this tremendously. And I do as much as I can, but there's only so much that I can do. How do you believe the Biden administration is going to protect reproductive health rights?
Well, Joe is very clear now that he believes what I believe, what you believe, what a strong majority of the American people believe. And that is women have the right to control their own bodies, not the government. And Joe believes that very strongly, and I know that Joe will nominate to the Supreme Court people who hold those views. I am confident that Joe will be supportive of our efforts, not only to sustain federal funding for Planned Parenthood, but to do what I think we need to do, significantly expand funding. Planned Parenthood is a remarkable organization.
Yeah.
And millions of women often lower income women, feel very comfortable. They know when you go into Planned Parenthood, that the doctors, the nurses, the staff there are on their side. They feel comfortable being there. And that the right wing wants to end funding, and my Republican colleagues, funding for Planned Parenthood is an outrage. And the political point that I would make here about the hypocrisy of some of these Republicans is over and over again, they talk about small government. Get the government off our backs, deregulate. Factories want to pollute, let them pollute. But when it comes to a woman having to make a personal and difficult choice, somehow they think a United States senator knows more about the needs of that woman than she does. Sure. That is hypocrisy of the worst kind.
Yeah, and that's why it's also absolutely important for us to make sure that we make Roe v. Wade settled law.
You're absolutely right. The only good news I would restate is that those who think that women should not control their own bodies are in a pretty significant minority.
Great.
And certainly among the younger generation, the future of this country,
yeah.
Overwhelming understanding, including a number of young Republicans
yeah.
who understand that that is a woman's decision, not the government. It's important for us to recognize that in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, we can do so much better. And that much of what we should be doing is not utopian. It is what exists in other countries already.
Absolutely.
Right? I am talking to you right now from Burlington, Vermont. And 50 miles north of where I am is Canada. A country in many ways smaller than we are, but in many ways similar to who we are as a people. I don't know that the viewers know, or that the young people know, that in Canada, every single person has access to healthcare as a human right. And that means if, God forbid, you are seriously ill and you end up in the hospital for 2 months as a result of heart surgery or cancer, whatever it may be, do you know what the bill you receive when you leave that hospital is? Do you know what it is, Halsey?
No, humor me.
Zero.
Wow.
All right, so it's not, they're not talking about access to healthcare. They fund it publicly. It's the same way that we fund the police department or the fire department. You have a fire in your house, you call the fire department, they come, it is a public service. No one sends you a bill. That's what you get as a taxpayer, as a citizen. What every other major country does, not just Canada, you go to any doctor you want. You go to the hospital when you need to. You do not take out your wallet. You do not take out your credit card. The quality of care there is as good or better in many respects than it is in the United States. So why don't we have that here? Why are we spending twice as much per person on healthcare as do the Canadians who guarantee healthcare to all people? And the answer gets back to what you mentioned 5 minutes ago. That is the issue of greed. You got a healthcare industry that says, wow, I can make all kinds of money if Halsey gets sick and ends up in the hospital.
Yeah.
How can I make so much money? Let me think about it.
Yeah.
So you have a system geared to make huge profits for the healthcare industry, but ignores the needs of ordinary people.
Yeah, and that greed really is poisonous too, because in the sense of some of the working class people in America who are listening to these conversations about greed, I think that one of the worst things that billionaire culture has done is that has infected the minds of working class people to believe that they are more likely to become billionaires than to end up poor, and that the lower class members of our society from a socioeconomic standpoint are depriving them in some way of resources. And they fail to see from a statistical standpoint that they are closer to those people they consider their enemy than they ever will be in any lifetime to the billionaire that they hope to one day become. And if they could recognize that and join with the people who are closer to their class in an effort to make life better for everybody, then we could eradicate this system. But unfortunately, these wealthy people have created this sickening mentality that infects the minds of working class people that makes them believe that the people in the classes beneath them are their enemy, when really it's them. It's
You got it.
guys up there, you know?
You got it exactly.